Romanticism. It was a movement that dominated the 19th century. Originally emerging in Europe, Romanticism reached America around 1820, and it stuck around until just after the Civil War. It gave us composers like Edward MacDowell, whose music you hear now, and artists like Thomas Cole, whose Home in the Woods painting forms our backdrop. Romanticism extolled the beauty and vastness of nature and of imagination, and it embraced human emotion and individualism. In this video, we'll stroll down memory lane to review Romanticism and its subgenres, Dark Romanticism and Gothic literature. We'll also review the historical context in which American Romanticism existed. And finally, we'll prepare for the romantic narrative writing assignment that will bring this unit to a close. Okay, time travelers, let's make one last visit to the age of Romanticism. As you recall, the Age of Enlightenment brought a lot of positive change to America. I mean, it actually helped establish the United States as a country, and it empowered people to think and use reason. But after a while, people were ready for a change. They grew tired of all that rationalism and empiricism. They longed for motion, imagination, and individualism. They longed for Romanticism, even the dark and Gothic kinds. We began our study of Romanticism with James Fenimore Cooper, author of the popular Leatherstocking Tales. We read from his 1826 novel, The Last of the Mohicans. The hero of this novel, and of all the Leatherstocking Tales, is rugged individualist Natty Bumppo, who's been immortalized as the consummate romantic hero, a common man who rejects authority, an outsider with a sense of wanderlust. Next, we encountered Washington Irving, whose 1820 short story, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, features superstitious schoolmaster Ichabod Crane, who is pursued by a headless horseman. Emotion, imagination, and ties to the past are strong with this one. The fireside poets, Longfellow, Lowell, Whittier, Holmes, and Bryant, showed us how meter and rhyme can create order from chaos, and how social commentary can be worked into the poetic form. And then we entered the world of dark Romanticism, where we found the shadowy side of human emotion and of imagination. Here we met Nathaniel Hawthorne, a descendant of Puritans, who gave us Young Goodman Brown, a story about a Puritan man who ventures into the dark forest, both literally and figuratively. This short story is filled with symbolism, and it leaves us with a sense that every human is deeply flawed. Then it was on to Herman Melville, who gave us Bartleby the Scrivener, about a copyist on Wall Street, who reminds us that too much rejection of authority and individualism can be self-destructive. And darker still, we ventured into Gothic literature, and we read The Fall of the House of Usher, a haunting tale by Edgar Allan Poe, whose short stories tended to be rather horrific. Finally, we met Frederick Douglass and Sojourner Truth. Rather than creating stories, they wrote and spoke of their own personal experiences to connect with the emotions and imaginations of their audiences, to show them how enslaved people were being denied their individualism, and to get them to imagine a better America. The 19th century was a time of conflict and change, and we know that the authors of the Romantic period were influenced by the historical context in which they lived. Okay, so let's review. The 19th century ushered in a lot of really great things, but there were some not so great things as well. We had the Louisiana Purchase, which vastly increased the size of the United States and led to westward expansion. Oh, the vastness of nature those settlers encountered! However, a lot of it was already occupied by Native Americans, so that caused some conflict and eventually led to the Indian Removal Act and the Trail of Tears. But the idea of manifest destiny had taken hold, and a lot of people believed that God had destined America to spread democracy and capitalism across the entire North American continent. Meanwhile, the New England states grew in manufacturing as the country experienced a shift away from an agrarian lifestyle. Many people were moving to urban areas, seeking opportunities to earn money and be a part of the new economy. Many of them worked in factories, where conditions were not always safe and the pay was low. And some of those factory workers were children. And we haven't even gotten to the biggest source of conflict yet, the institution of slavery. During the 19th century, we saw significant growth in the anti-slavery movement, and the conflict rose to the point where we had a civil war. But finally, slavery was abolished and enslaved people were emancipated. This historical context is important because these authors didn't write in a vacuum. They lived in this context. Westward expansion formed the backdrop for James Fenimore Cooper's Leatherstocking Tales. That move from an agrarian lifestyle to a consumer-driven industrial economy is the basis for Melville's Bartleby. The Fireside Poets? They were abolitionists, and that fact worked its way into their writing. Historical context can't be ignored because it's a major influence on literature. So, think about it. What historical context are you living in? What messages do authors try to convey today? What conflicts and issues form a backdrop for modern stories? These are important questions for you to consider because this week, you are going to be an author. You will write your very own romantic narrative with a minimum of 500 words. You'll select a theme, setting, and time period. You'll create characters and develop a plot. You may choose to develop a typical romantic hero, or you may choose to align your story with the subgenres of dark romanticism or Gothic literature. That's up to you. Before writing, you'll review narrative elements and create a plan. After completing your rough draft, you will conduct an analysis of its alignment with the characteristics of Romanticism. And finally, there's a rubric provided for scoring your romantic narrative assignment. You have a message to deliver. You have a story to tell. You are an author working in the style of Romanticism, but in your own historical context. Enjoy this creative journey, my friend. Hey, hey.